Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning. I was just realizing, just as, I'm sitting here thinking, okay, it's getting to the end. What do I got to do? Make sure the microphones work. Oh, yeah, that's right. We need the music. All right, so welcome. It is Monday. Today, likely to be a pretty tight and calm day because tomorrow we have Consumer Price Index. So just relax. We can have some fun today. Market is pretty tight so far with the treasuries. First 10 minutes or so, only about 2 or 3 ticks. So it's probably going to be another quiet one. It has kind of been like that. And volatility continues to contract. So be careful, be selective with your trades. Let's come over and look at the charts to see if there was any interesting activity over the weekend. So here on the treasuries, first of all, well, things were looking pretty dire in the treasuries. I mean, they are breaking some key support, but we are once again just barely above them. So any kind of move to the downside does have the potential to accelerate, but yeah, again, no news today, CPI tomorrow. Probably it stays tight. Now, if CPI tomorrow is higher than anticipated, and we do have some reason to believe that some inflation numbers might start to pick up again, the treasuries could get super ugly tomorrow, right? So the S&P 500, good rally on Friday, up a little bit further overnight, looking pretty good over there. Oil, well, they did have a rally a few days ago. I was going to say there is some more geopolitical tension in the Middle East with Israel staging for an invasion of Rafah, where they believe the hostages are being held. So, but so far, nothing too significant over there in oil. Gold and silver getting hammered along with the rest of the treasury complex. Kappa continuing to struggle as China continues to struggle. And the dollar still right at 104. Well, it took a long time for us to get back up to 104, but now we've been there for several days. Bitcoin having a little bit of a run on Thursday and Friday. Not quite to new post ETF highs, but close. So there's Bitcoin. All right, and yeah. Good morning, Jiwi, Octavius, Paul, Octavius. Oh, I already read Octavius's name, but he says he took a short, huh? I do think it seems like so look at the flows here in the treasury, right? Over the past, let's say hour, on this move up, very, very, very gentle buying. And now since the open, it looks like they've dumped most of that inventory that they had. And they are coming to some of our interesting price levels where the buyer and seller average cost basis is. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to bounce or move through it. I have never been able to find any kind of statistical abnormality around that, but it does appear to be a key price that they can sometimes react to. So if they continue down, I think you got a good trade, but I'm still thinking overall that today's, it might be very difficult for them to get to a new overnight session low, for instance. Right? But there's definitely something going on over there. It's just in this kind of a situation, it's like, yeah, they go a little bit further and then they turn around, right? Blow my nose here. Good morning. Good morning, Rob. So wait, what is Sylphies? So I was watching this thing, a clip from the All In podcast on TikTok this morning. And their argument was that people that are just journalists for websites and aren't really very well known, what works best for them and what makes the website the most money is to just lie. And you're more likely to get good information from somebody that like has a big personality and is really charismatic and everything, simply because if they say something that's incorrect, it will like hurt their reputation. Whereas these other guys, they kind of make money from lying. So that was kind of interesting to me. And so here I am on stream, you know, hawking loogies and all that sort of disgusting stuff. I don't feel like I've been quite 100% this whole year. Whatever it was that I had, it must have been a COVID variant. I'm convinced it must be a COVID variant and I have long COVID or something, because it's just been really hard to get over this one. Like, I got over the initial sickness, but it's still kind of like... Hi, Prince Trader. I don't know if anybody else is in the same boat. So you got sick in December, January, and you feel like you never completely recovered. My kids have like gotten full on sick again. So look at that. 6K iceberg at 25.5. So at 6K iceberg is a little bit bigger than I would expect at this time. It's also pretty early on in the session, so I take a little bit more note when I'm seeing icebergs in that sort of large order behavior at the beginning of the session. But it is still a situation where I'm kind of expecting the indexes to stay tight. So normally, I think I would be taking a lot of note of that and being like, okay, this is definitely a short now. But I think that the tightness, I'm going with the tightness is too much. I'm sticking with that one. So we'll see what they do here. But that is an interesting little aberration there. Chewy says the NFL considered Lizzo for the halftime show, but they were worried the audience would see a fat lady singing and think the game was over. Oh, there's no way I'm going to enter into trade now. I mean, if there was a trade, it was definitely try and catch some of the short at 25, half 25. But I think the treasuries are going to be tight. I think even if it does go down, I'm not sure you make more than 22. Right? So from 24 to 22. So like 4 ticks. That's not a super great trade. So what did you think of the halftime show, by the way? Because I thought it was a really bad halftime show. Not because of Usher. Usher did a great job, but like somebody messed up with the audio, man. It was quiet. Like I had my TV turned up like double what it usually was, and I still couldn't get the bass to kick. And like you could barely hear Usher. Like I don't know what his deal was. Like was his mic not positioned right or something? It just that something with the audio was off. The visuals were cool. I thought the visual spectacle looked pretty good, but it was not the best halftime show I've seen. I can't even remember which Super Bowls I've seen and haven't seen now at this point, though. I'm pretty sure that I skipped a few years there, though. Will be retail. Oh, there was such a thing. There was a retail trader out there with 6,000 contracts. I mean, look, it is. They just traded 1,000 contracts to tick up there. And it was only in that one was weird because only the 10-year moved up. You missed the Patriots being in the Super Bowl? You know what the funny thing here is? Is that Doozy, you've never watched a Super Bowl? Wow. You had the theory that the Chiefs would be down into the fourth quarter, tie, win in overtime. So we watched the score on Google into the end. Yeah, oh, dude, that was crazy. Is a retail trader with 6K contract power a retail trader? I mean, if it was like this really rich guy that didn't make his money in didn't make his money being in a bank, I guess it's possible. You mean the Taylor Swift Bowl? So it's kind of funny because I got two teams. I got the Denver Broncos because they're close and we're in their market. So like, I really hate the way that all of the sports, they say that like millennials, they aren't really watching sports and like it's a big problem and all that sort of stuff. Well, I think that a major factor behind that is that millennials just find it too inconvenient to watch the games. Like if I could watch the games on YouTube, it would be a totally different thing. So I don't own a cable. We don't own cable anymore. And they're only just now starting to get these deals with streaming services, right? Like I was able to watch the Super Bowl on Paramount Plus. I don't know why I have Paramount Plus. I don't think I actually pay for it. I think that I just get it. And the kids watch it from time to time. There is some good stuff for the kids on Paramount Plus. Anyways, so that's why I watch the Denver Broncos. But my team has always been the Kansas City Chiefs because I lived in Kansas City for 2 years. And they were all those I tell you what, those people in Kansas, they love football. They love their team. So I'm super, super happy for them. It's kind of a weird thing because, I grew up in basketball and we were the Utah Jazz. So we were always watching other people be the dynasty. And now all of a sudden, my team is basically the dynasty. I really think they stand a good chance at 3 years in a row, which I don't think has ever happened. But is the team from Kansas or from... This is a good question. I don't. I think the stadium is in Kansas. So for you, those of you that are from Europe and aren't familiar, Kansas City is on the border between Kansas and Missouri. And the Missouri site is actually larger, I think. So Kansas City is technically not in Kansas. So is it Kansas City, Kansas, or Kansas City, Missouri? I don't know. Paramount Plus has that 70s show? Really? Oh, I thought that Netflix had that. Well, maybe Netflix still does. We aren't in Kansas anymore. So it's just weird to me to be rooting for the team that is like the dynasty. It kind of makes me like not want to root for them. You know what I mean? But the Taylor Swift thing, I'm telling you, listen, I'm not saying that it's a psyop, okay? So for those of you, maybe you're new, or I'm just joking here, okay? When we were going to talk about this stuff, I'm just joking. Taylor, I'm not serious. I'm just joking, okay? But if it was not a psyop, what would be different? What would be? Come on. It's just so perfect. They tie it and then win in overtime. I actually kind of felt that overtime was a little bit like a little dull, actually, because it was kind of like, oh yeah, the Kansas City is like definitely gonna win, I think. But it was just, don't you feel like it's just a little bit too convenient that it went into overtime and they won? And then there was that thing with Travis Kelce pushing the coach. What was that about? I don't know what that deal was, but Travis Kelce, he came alive in the fourth quarter and they started doing well. I'm pretty sure there was no chance the Chiefs would lose. Well, that's the first thing is like, okay, I could totally see a star starting a relationship with the team that they are pretty sure is going to win the Super Bowl, possibly could win the Super Bowl 3 years in a row, right? Just to elevate your profile, and that could totally be a thing. I'm not sure if that's really what's actually going on. I guess one of those things is like, I don't know, Taylor. We're not buddies. If she came over, maybe I could get to know her and I could opine on, but I don't. And I think that you're delusional if you think that you actually know these celebrities or understand them. What they put off in their public persona is not real, But I think it all makes sense now. People think that's impossible, but it's so ungodly easy to change the outcome of a football game. Well, I agree with you, but it didn't really seem like that happened though, right? Like, Maybe if the 49ers were really like getting close to win, I guess there was one really key call against the 49ers at the end, wasn't there? One of the things about this Super Bowl was that I felt like it was relatively clean. Like I can remember many years where, the winner, it was because there was a super key interception or a super key fumble at one point. Controversial calls at the end. Like the one I really remember was, I think it was the 49ers versus the Cowboys. And the running back, it was like third and goal or something like that, right? And the running back goes on and he gets caught like just barely short, and then they're showing the replay, and this was before they had like instant replay reviews or whatever. They show he's down, and then he holds the football and slowly moves it up so that it's over the goal, so that it looks like he landed over the goal line. You guys remember that one? And that was like, there was so many controversial calls at that time. I don't really recall controversial calls. Now there was a call against the 49ers at a really key time that kind of prevented them from getting that touchdown. But I mean, it was a legitimate call. They were holding. So I would say overall, it was a pretty clean game and that the refs didn't really have an impact on it. But, the Chiefs won. So like if the goal was to have the Chiefs won, that just meant that they didn't have to cheat at all. But if the 49ers were about to win, maybe then they would have turned up the, shenanigans and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Listen, what's really going on here, folks, is that stage one of our globalist conspiracy to rule the world is complete. It was successful, right? You get right. Step one, win the Super Bowl. I need a pen. Step two, get married. Step three, and then step four, profit. Yeah? You think it's more about gambling rather than global domination or some stuff? Well, see, some people were saying, actually, step three is endorse Biden, right? Okay, but like, Did you watch that press conference last week? Like, I'm sorry, Joe is screwed. It can't be Joe Biden. Doesn't make sense. Joe Biden's screwed. The next election will be between, an old demented geezer and like a slightly less old demented geezer, right? One demented geezer can't remember what, the timeline of events or who he's with, and the other geezer thinks that Russia should be encouraged to invade NATO countries that don't pay enough money to support NATO. I just no celebrity that big is going to endorse Trump. That's not new, especially not one that's your go-to woman. No. So, but I figured it out. Listen, I'm part of the globalist cabal, folks. I know what's going on here, so I'm gonna let you in on the secret. Okay, I'm gonna let you in on the secret so that you can make some money. All right, you ready for this? You ready for this? Step 3 is have a baby. That's step 3. Tell me that's not step 3. Think about it. What better way to increase the supply of labor and increase the amount of money going into the index funds so that our stocks can continue to go up forever than for Taylor Swift to have a baby and then convince all of the other millennial women to also have babies, creating a baby boom and saving the collapsing demographics of the United States. It's so obvious. It's so obvious. That's step 3. Is the Taylor Swift baby. You know it's coming. You know it's coming. The whole open border thing seems to have beaten that theory in the race. Well, yes, and our globalist plots to increase the amount of border crossings has worked pretty well, but it's kind of starting to hurt us politically, so we kind of need to shift to something else, right? Like that. There's been a pretty good solution in the interim. Probably will change the demographics in the favor of Democrats in the long run, but we're going to need to just have some more babies, I think. Because that it's hurting our party a little. It's hurting the globalists a little too much. I want to say our party. Well, we own both parties, us globalists. Of course. So really, what do you do? Buy Carter's. This is a retailer. They sell baby stuff. They have a stock. That's the play. Buy Carter's. See, and it's such a brilliant play, right? Because nobody's talking about a baby boom, right? Like the thing that in everybody's mind is people don't have babies anymore. Populate the impending demographic collapse of the United States, etc., etc., etc. It's the solution, guys. When Taylor Swift has a baby, every woman will want to have a baby. You know what's going to happen. It happened when Kate Middleton had a baby. More babies were born. But you need like real royalty. Taylor Swift, yes. What better of a story? You become homecoming queen, and then you have a happy family. So crazy, it might work. But if I go and put $1,000 on Carter's and it like doubles, I'm just gonna be like, making fun of conspiracy theories is how normies cope with the fact that everything is shit and TV isn't telling them why. I tell you what, we really are in a bizarre situation economically and everything, right? Like, I've never seen anything like this in my life. I mean, I can remember even as a kid, because I do remember being like 5 and like my parents liking President Reagan. I can very, very clearly remember when George Bush ran against Bill Clinton and Ross Perot. and George Bush lost. I very, very much remember that one. And I was only like 8 at the time. Or when was that? That was 1992. So I think I was 7. Right? I do like things better when famous people also like them. Okay. But I cannot remember a time. I'm somebody. I'm almost 40 now, and I've been watching the news since I was a little kid. Okay, and I don't think that there was ever been a time in my life where like the news media has been super positive on the economy. Somebody's always complaining about the economy and trying to explain why it's really not as good as it appears, and so on. So why I'm always like really skeptical about it. Like I think that reading Zero Hedge too much and taking what they say about like there's going to be a crash too seriously is a great way to cut your profits short. Because they were like anti, the rally from 2008 through the whole thing, like through the whole rally, So, but the situation that we're in right now, I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like it, where everybody is super, super sour on the economy. Like the president's handling of the economy is possibly going to lose him the election, or is one factor that's losing him an election. And the economy like just continues to push to new highs, and it's like super crazy. Now I normally I'm super positive. I always try to be half full sort of a guy, but there are some things in the current market that really concern me. Like there was a note out by Goldman Sachs this morning. They were saying that people are just too long tech. Like everybody is in tech, and when this thing in tech falls apart, it's probably going to drop like 20%. And I can definitely see that. I don't think it makes a whole lot of sense that like tech is the flight to safety trade right now. I think it's just like all momentum. And when momentum is doing super, super well, that's usually not a good omen. So I'm a little bit concerned on that side. But it is like I do think that a lot of people are kind of watching TV and so forth. Like Uzi was saying, like I think that people are trying to cope with the fact that a lot of things seem like crap to them right now, but then the TV's not telling them why. Like everything says that everything is awesome, right? I think I think a lot of people are having, especially the Republicans, are kind of having a little bit of like cognitive dissonance. Like, how can things be so awful and the stock market continue going up? That doesn't make sense to them. But to me, it makes perfect sense, because to me, what moves the stock market is orders and not actually the underlying fundamentals of the economy. So as long as the orders are coming in. Okay, by the way, just saw some fairly significant movement in oil there. There must have been a geopolitical headline of some sort or something, because oil just dropped pretty hard. And I heard a lot of clicking in ES when that happened as well. I understand the positioning and chip stuff, but I don't understand the social media stuff. Like Meta's value is just... Okay, yeah, like Meta... Is Meta really that great just because they have a dividend now and stuff? Okay. How could what is essentially commercials be so darn valuable? Yeah, it really is. But like I said, the big thing that we're seeing right now, I tell you what, this is I don't talk about this as often as maybe I should. But one of the things that really bothers me right now in the market overall is the whole bogglehead thing. So if you're not familiar with the term boggleheads, there was this guy, I think his name was John Bogle, and he wrote a bunch of books that basically said that like it's pointless to do anything other than put all of your money into stock indexes. That like a value doesn't really work. And yeah, like you're not Warren Buffett, so just put it all into an index fund, okay? And the thing is, he's right, and I hate it. He's right that for the average person, who is mostly who isn't going to be able to invest more than what they can put into their tax advantaged accounts like your 401k and your IRA, it makes sense to put most of your money into index funds. It really does. It really does. But there's problems with that, right? That is not a wagon that can go on forever. It's not. And you're starting to see really see the effect that it has on the markets. Everything basically becomes about like what is already overcapitalized. Like momentum just does really well in that situation. So it doesn't make any sense to buy into value, because value are the places where, yeah, it's undervalued, but money's not going in there. And you want to go into the place where the most buys are going to be coming, and that ends up being like the already super large market cap, highest beta stuff. So basically tech. I kind of want to do, so my next thing is I want to go and get some data and start doing some backtesting on like momentum type strategies. And one of the things that I would like to test out is, okay, just find the thing that has the highest beta and is over a certain market cap and just buy those. How well did you do over the last 10 years? I bet you that went really well, right? Value doesn't work. And there's a problem when value doesn't work, because we basically keep putting our money into the same holes and we don't actually get progress, That's the effect that the index funds have had, is it's gotten to the point where which stocks you buy really doesn't matter. Because, something being value is actually kind of a bad sign for how it will perform in this market environment. People is excited about Apple Vision Pro? No way. No. That one's been weird to me, because Apple definitely does the like a guerrilla marketing thing, right? I don't even think that they have to pay people, right? All you do is just make sure that when people post videos of, oh, I saw this person out in the public using Apple Vision Pro, just make sure that those are the videos that get to the top, right? But the public reaction to it has been almost universally negative. I don't think there's a single person out there that's watching those videos and are like, oh my gosh, Apple Vision Pro is so cool. I wish I was rich enough to have one and walk around New York City and look like a tool like that. Nobody says that. Everybody's like, this is the dystopian nightmare. I can't believe that the people are so stupid to walk around with those things on their face and look so stupid. So that one has been kind of a little weird. Even when indexes are at all-time highs, they're undervalued. Yeah, well, when you look at something like Nvidia, okay, I don't think that you can ever say that something like that is overvalued or undervalued, because it was overvalued when people were buying it up crazy. So clearly it's not value that drives this stock, right? And it could totally keep going as long as people keep allocating money to it. But like I said, that sort of a thing flips on its head and gets ugly really quickly, right? Like there's nothing that will stop it. There's nothing that means that it has to come back. So Nvidia could just continue moving up perpetually forever. It's totally possible, okay? But if it turns around, and it has, I mean, there was a 20% decline a year or two ago, right? If it turns around, you probably 20% decline. Then 20% decline is ugly. 20% decline is bad. And we're starting to see all of the analysts are starting to warn about this. So I think that it will probably continue. Like, you got to have like one last stop out, so all of the skeptics, they get stopped out. maybe one more big rally, but then I think that we're going to need to have a pullback, or that a pullback is becoming likely. Market cap of Nvidia is 1.7 versus the entire Chinese stock market of 6.5 Jeez. It's so insane. And I don't even know what the PE multiple is on that thing anymore. It's just nuts. Although, Nvidia makes a lot more sense to me than Tesla. I thought that the Tesla rally, when that was the big thing, was just so silly. It's like, the cars aren't that good. The only reason they're making money is because of the government. That one is always a difficult one to argue, because basically Elon Musk, how did he become the richest person in the world? Government subsidies. But, it's liberal people that like the government subsidies, and liberal people hate Elon Musk right now, so how does that one work? Okay, that one's a little confusing, but if it wasn't for government subsidies, I don't think he would be the richest man in the world. That doesn't take anything away from his accomplishments. Elon Musk seems like a great guy, or at least that his heart's in the right place, and I appreciate what he's doing with Twitter and free speech and all of that. But I don't think he would be the richest man in the world if it wasn't for the government subsidies. Tesla doesn't just have business, they also have loud opinions and undying support from many, not saying a bad thing, but yeah, big people love to. Well, is that such... I definitely remember, like, pre-COVID, there being, like, a group of people that were just, like, Tesla fanboys, right? But that seems to have, like, broken up. Big time. Ask the Hyperloop test tunnels rotting in 3 major cities. Dude, I'm so super disappointed about that whole thing. I really thought that I was going to be taking 30-minute train rides to Las Vegas and Los Angeles every day. Can you imagine? Can you imagine working on location in Los Angeles and actually living all the way in Utah? But, like, that's the sort of stuff that the Hyperloop would have made possible, but it didn't actually work. So be disappointed in yourself that you thought that an above ground subway was in. It's true. Well, the whole vacuum thing, it was compelling, but my understanding about it was that the technology just didn't work or was not economical in some way, right? That it was like too much work to make the vacuum in front of it and all that. Japan is much smaller. I've seen many stories of people traveling what seems like big distances to work because they have better train networks. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know about that. I know that the housing situation in Japan is a lot better, so I would think that more people live close to where they work in Japan than would otherwise, but... See, that's the one hole still in our globalist plot, right? Is that the Taylor Swift baby boom will probably really only affect white women. So what are we going to do about the rest of the world? Is there some really famous Japanese star that the women all really like that can have a baby and no one wants to eat the liability of stuffing a bunch of people into a vacuum tube? I don't know if that was it. I think that part of it is just the logistical problems with building like these train networks. And then it's going to be a vacuum train network that makes it even worse, right? I think that was a major factor, but I seem to recall, actually, let's look it up. Why Hyperloop fails. Struggled with technology barriers, leadership issues, and lack of contracts. Rest of the world doesn't seem to have a problem building train networks, though. Through challenging terrain. Oh, I don't know, man. Building a... The thing is like building a train through the Sierra Nevadas is not easy. It's okay. There were some parts that were in the desert, but then there's also, it's just California, right? Like there's a lot of problems with building anything in California. If the project was build a high-speed train from Salt Lake City to St. George, I think you could make it work. I mean, it would be really hard to find the funding for something like that. But once you had the funding for it, I think that it would be really easy to build something like that in a conservative state like Utah. But California? No way. Everything that happens in California is money. Although I will say, one of the things that they want to do in Utah is to build a gondola that would go up Little Cottonwood Canyon to go to like all of the major ski resorts. And some people are fighting it super hard. Super hard. I don't know if they'll have success. I don't know if the gondola plan is actually really serious, but it's like a big controversy. It's like that probably gets people talking here in Utah more than anything else right now. If they built it, if they really built it, that would be like a world attraction. That would become like the thing Salt Lake City is known for, is that they have this giant gondola that goes from the city to the ski resorts. It would be so crazy. It'd be so cool. But I don't think it's going to happen. It just seems a little too crazy to me. It sounds too grandiose for Utah. But maybe I'm wrong. The other thing they want to do here in Utah is they want to take the place that the state prison is at right now, because it's actually quite hot property and there's lots of really big, rich communities around that. They want to, or they're already going to move it. So what are they going to do with the land? Well, this one guy, he wants to build a sports complex. He wants to have like the basketball team, baseball team, football or soccer team, and a hockey team. So if we do get a hockey team in Utah, I think I'm going to have to become a super fan. I think so. I think I think I can be in hockey, you know, like the things kind of holding me back from really getting too involved in other sports like woke politics and the television and all of these sorts of things. But if it's hockey, I think I get season tickets. The question is just, do I get 2 season tickets or 3? But we have to get a team first. Backwoods redneck racic Florida also won war with California so hard that everyone completely forgot and had to ignore how hard Florida... What are you talking about? First world problem. I want to have season tickets, but we don't actually have a hockey team. $7K bid in ZN, all the way down there. Well, I think things are still kind of pointing generally down. There was some selling. Like, they see that 55.49 at 0.87 in the 5-year. So there was a bid iceberg, but they got through it and they're continuing to sell. So I think I see a couple of things that do kind of suggest to the downside, but it's still very, I mean, like, come on. We've been yapping for like 45 minutes and it ticked up like 1 tick, right? Ooh. It's tight today. They're definitely holding off until CPI tomorrow. Yeah, Blue state does high-speed rail, get stuck in administrative state forever. Red state does high-speed rail, you get high-speed. Well, I don't know. Has a red state really tried? Probably not. Oh, you do have it in Florida? Oh, really? I've never heard of that. What are you saying about the Robbins Club? I don't care. You mean the cup? Yeah, I like trading competitions. Trading competitions are stupid. If there was a trading competition that was like, who has the best 5-year performance, then that would be a different thing. But the kind of strategy that you use to win a 1-year trading challenge is maybe not necessarily a strategy that you actually want to trade. It's called the Bright Line. Florida High Speed Rail. Bright Line. How long has that been around for? It's between Miami and Orlando. Commenced operations in September 2023. Also, it's fairly new too. But that's not a very long line though, is it? I need to reacquaint myself with Florida geography, because that's not super long, is it? Oh, actually, it's probably a couple 100 miles. Let's see. Measure distance. Florida to Miami, 200 miles, yeah. That's not bad. That probably is a really valuable thing for you guys down in Florida, isn't it? Probably have to go around that. Probably something more like that, huh? World's longest consecutive train trip is Florida to Alaska? Ooh, yeah. Hey, when I become a hedge fund manager, I will buy $1 million train car and we can do that. Yeah. And then we wouldn't need the hotel stops, right? We could just stay in my fancy train car the whole time. Jewish News Syndicate says oh my gosh, Twitter. I hate it when Twitter updates right as I'm starting to read something. Basically, they were saying a split in Hamas is widening as some senior officials realize that the terrorist group will not remain in Gaza after the war. Let's recenter things here. Make sure I keep track of it. It does seem like the 10-year lagged there and all that, but it's been long enough that aberration should definitely have resolved itself. So let's center it. Let's see. ZB, I think maybe ZB kind of wants to go down. We are seeing a slight amount steepening. By the way, I didn't realize this, but they did when we moved over to the March contract. The size on a lot of the spreads changed. So if you're using those indicators, you might want to go and look up the intercommodity spreads and adjust your charts. It doesn't make a huge difference, but Eric Wallerstein quoting Bank of America, who says everyone is long bonds. Should momentum continue to peak and turn shorter, there is a long way for this position to unwind. Yeah. Isn't that what Seth has been saying for the last 3-4 weeks? But it hasn't happened yet. They're right on the edge of it and it doesn't happen. Kamala Harris, what? Kamala Harris says she is, quote, ready to serve as Biden faces age scrutiny via the Wall Street Journal. Okay, that does not help. That does not help them, rather. Dude, okay. It was so weird because the first time, that effing terrifies me, the first time I heard about that press conference was when you told me on stream on Thursday, Uzi. So going back and reading that, it was kind of weird how how much it stood out to me as because normally I would have been like, they'll get over it. You know, the media will cover for him. Everybody will forget about it like always. But then I was like, but then they decided to have a press conference. But the story is that Joe Biden was extremely, extremely upset by this. I think that part of what might be going on is that all of the Democrat people are super triggered by it because it was, you know, stuff relating to a special counsel and court case and all of that sort of stuff that kind of sunk Hillary, right? I don't know if that kind of, what do we call it, leak? Because the thing is like them reopening the investigation. I think that conservatives kind of like turned it into a bigger headline than it actually was, slightly. I think that maybe it was still enough to sway, but I don't know if Hillary would have still lost without that headline. So I think that they're all kind of triggered by that. And so Joe is sitting here being like, oh, this is the thing that sinks me. And then overreacts. And then the overreacting is the thing that guarantees that it turns into, because now it's a big issue, right? Yeah, now like everybody in the media smells blood. So what does Kamala Harris do? Oh, it's okay, guys, because even if he dies, I can be president. Yeah, that makes it better, Kamala. That makes it better. Why do people remember about 6 million Jews being killed in World War II, but they can't talk about 15 million Union soldiers? Do we really want to talk about this? Okay, I'll talk about this, and I'll explain to you why. So I think that there's two factors. Okay, first of all, the systematic genocide of Jews and other minorities in World War II Germany was not the first genocide that we have seen on this planet. In fact, I'd say that there's a pretty substantial amount of evidence to suggest that genocide is like built into the genome to some extent. Because if you run into an existential conflict with another group of people, basically it ends up in one group or the other dies. Like that's just the way that it tends to go. And there's kind of some history to suggest that there were some pretty massive wars between different proto-hominids, and one killed the other off, or at least did enough damage that the other one eventually died off. Hey, so it wasn't the first time we've seen genocide. I'm not even sure if it was like the biggest genocide, okay? But what shocked the world about the genocide in Europe was that it was industrialized. And it's really the only example that we have of like industrialized genocide. So for instance, in the Soviet Union, there was also what I would consider a genocide, except for it was more of like a class genocide. And I think that ultimately more people died from it, yes. But one, there are a lot of people that try and carry water for the communists and try and claim that didn't really happen. But then the other thing is that they weren't like putting people into trains and things like that. It was more like they targeted their food and caused people to starve to death instead. Right? So that's why that particular incident gets so much attention, is because, you know, they were carting people into factories where they were gassed. It was industrialized genocide, and that was a very, very different thing, and particularly heinous and scary. Okay. So Raymond is like, if you run out of subject matter, but if you have a real question about the market, that should take precedence, right? What do you want to see about my market analyzer? So I have it down there in the lower right corner of my secondary screen, and it's just a watch list. I have all of the major futures up there, all of the major currencies up there, and I have a net change So you can see the biggest winner right now is soybeans, up 0.7%. I also have last price and daily volume, although I don't pay attention to those so much. It's really hard to remember, what is normal volume for silver and what is normal volume for treasuries and whatnot. But what do you mean by industrial genocide? I mean, like, they were carting people into factories and they killed people in factories with machines. Industrialized. And they transported them in trains to a central location and yada yada, right? Because in the past, genocide meant your armies and soldiers would go out and just execute a bunch of people with their guns and swords. Why does ES have a range as tiny as UBs? Well, they're both pretty volatile instruments, to be honest. Thought maybe there was more to it than that. I wish that there was more to it than that. But, I mean, the key thing is that you want to be keeping an eye on the entire market to some extent. You want to know where the money is coming from and where the money is going to. So, for the instruments that are, like, directly correlated to us, I want to have charts up, and I want to have this cursor set to global, no time scroll. Or you can do time scroll, but I prefer global. So that you can kind of go along it and see, okay, these two instruments, they turned at the same time. So these are correlated, this one's not, and you can kind of sort out what's moving for why from that. And then for everything else, you can just have them on the watch list and you can say, okay, what's up today and what's not up today? And what does that tell me about the current macro conditions? When you have a moment, what do you think of the cumulative delta change on ES at the end of Friday's session? 28k drop in the minis? Well, so it is not, if I show you a chart over here. So I don't know if that's exactly what you were talking about, but it's not unusual to see really huge changes in cumulative delta at the end of a session. So you see here, like, there's this big jump right here, and then there's this huge dip when the future's really, really close, right? So there's a lot of people that they are hedging, but they're only like day hedges. So as soon as the day is over, they want to get rid of their hedges. And the market maker, he doesn't necessarily want to hold the inventory overnight. That's really scary for them. So the two guys kind of negotiate and decide to switch. And, one guy will be the limit orders and the other guy will be the market orders and hit into each other, right? But you can kind of see it as it's happening on the DOM. It's almost like a negotiation. So that sort of stuff at the end of the day is likely to happen. I don't know if there's anything you can glean from it. I've always kind of wondered, can you predict which side is going to have to give a concession and which side is going to be the market orders and whatnot? But as far as I can see, it seems random to me. Well, this is also what, something that Gary Norden talks a lot about that I definitely think is true, is that you've got to be a little bit wary about closing prices, because you can manipulate closing prices more easily than almost anything else. Yeah, it happens in the Treasury complex every day. You'll see a massive amount of volume at 3 p.m. Eastern time when the Treasury pits close. That's always like the highest volume time of the day in the Treasury, actually. It's funny, we never see it when we're not here. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin is moved to critical care unit at Walter Reed. So if I come to Zero Hedge, how many of those headlines do I see? Houthis say American ship hit by missiles in Red Sea. Almost 90% of people in an ABC News poll believe Biden isn't fit to serve. That's bad. It was the question really isn't fit to serve? Hold on, let's not just believe Zero Hedge on a political thing. I want to see the Ipsos poll. So they said 86. What does 86% of them say? Do you think Biden, Trump, both or neither are too old for another term as president? And that's the one that like most people are saying yes. Okay, so Zero Hedge is overselling it, but still not a good poll result for him. Man. Feds Bowman was speaking, but there were no comments on the economic outlook from them. From her. Bowman's a girl, right? I'm pretty sure. It's Michelle Bowman, right? I need to like memorize the names and faces of all of the FOMC members, I think. Was on my list. In a January poll of asset managers, they see the U.S. 10-year Treasury note to yield 3.87 in 6 months and 3.75 in a year. So they still think that yields are going to decline. Make a poster. Does any actual fund use manual scalping or intraday movements to make money? You know, I don't know of any firm out there that are using manual traders to scalp and make money. No. I mean, that's kind of the whole thing, is that the industry basically explicitly avoids having to do what we basically have to do to make money. Right? Now, there's definitely market making activity, but they have robots or robot assisted trading. So make of that what you will. I'm never going to come in and say nobody should day trade. Okay. Somebody has to day trade. Like, we kind of run into problems with the markets if nobody day trades. Okay. But the question is, should you day trade? And that's why we have to point out how difficult this is and how much the odds are against you. That really matters because, number one, you have to be somebody that can afford to lose that money because it's so likely. And number two, you have to be somebody that can put in the amount of effort required because it requires a considerable amount of effort to be successful with it. And those two things kind of contradict each other, right? The people that have the money maybe don't necessarily have the time to waste on trying to become an expert on the futures market, right? But every once in a while, you get somebody that they're in tech like myself, have a little bit of extra capital, and are just absolutely obsessed in the markets, and then futures trading could make sense for you. Brannigan Barrett tweets, tomorrow is a CPI print, so expect hedging flows today. Man, I got kind of like a gravelly throat, but then when I cough, I don't get anything. Investors pay higher hedge fund fees for first time in a decade, says the Financial Times. This is pertinent to my interests, but I don't pay for the Financial Times. Wow, 2 people shot, 1 dead in Sandy, Utah. Wow, that's a big deal. For us in Utah, at least. Do you use any type of terminal? No, I wish. I wish I had a Bloomberg terminal, but I don't. I do pay for a Zero Hedge subscription, and I get a lot of really good information through that. But oh, I have such a love-hate relationship with them. My relationship with Zero Hedge is almost as complicated as my relationship with Epic Games. Ugh. What do you think about prop firms like Apex, etc.? Is it all a scam in your opinion? Well, I wouldn't call it a scam, but I'm not a fan of those services, no. I think that the majority of, people, they're not going to pass the combines, and that they're mostly making money from people failing the combines. I also think that the combines have been around long enough that people have kind of learned how to game them, if not to make money, then to get attention from other people. So, like, even on just randomness, you can, like, pass 1 in 3 or 1 in 4 combines. So somebody passing a combine is not actually the achievement that people think it is. If you just come in and you take big risks, you can pull it off. So, you get funded, and then most of those people don't even make it more than 6 months, and they fail again. So I don't think it's a very good deal. If you really want to trade, you can fund your own account and trade micro contracts. What has Epic Games done? Oh, they screwed me, man. Here's what happened. Every step of the way in Epic's journey, they basically will come to a point where they have an audience, and whatever they would kind of do to make their audience happy or to show them some appreciation, they just kind of turn their back on it. So they made like an Unreal tournament, and then it was going to be like a community effort, and then Fortnite came along and they just kind of abandoned it. So we had put all of this effort into this freaking game, and then they just dropped it. And they didn't even tell anybody. It was like, I remember, so there's a subreddit called, I created a subreddit rather, called Unreal Series, as opposed to the Unreal Tournament subreddit. Because basically, if you questioned that the Unreal Tournament project was still going, because they said, oh, they're taking a break, but they're going to come back to it, and we're all like, no, they're dropping it. Like, it's been canceled. They just are too afraid to tell you yet, right? If you said that, you'd get banned on the other subreddit, because that's what Epic didn't want people saying that. So we created another subreddit so that we wouldn't be, buried, or whatever you want to say. So, yeah. So I still love them, but I'm kind of bitter about how that all went down. And we have I'm like the abused girlfriend in that relationship, right? She's like, an Epic has beaten me a few times, and I just can't get myself to hate them though. Like, you watch. Next month they're gonna come back and they're gonna be like, hey, in addition to all of this Disney content they were making, we're also got Unreal Tournament up on the game store, and they've been fully remastered and everything too. Or not fully remastered, but like fixed so that they work on modern PCs at the very least, right? And then I'll be all in again. So it was Zero Hedge. Zero Hedge has me blocked on Twitter, because they would post crypto stuff, and then I would leave comments that just completely destroyed and undermined their cryptocurrency talking points, and so they blocked me. but they put a lot of content out that's like overtly political and kind of like is not accurate. Like we were just pointing there, they say 90% of Americans say Biden is too old to serve, but that's not exactly the truth of what the poll was. It was actually like 60% said both and 15% that Biden was too old. And the question wasn't the question that Zero Hedge was posting, is the title, right? So they're not entirely accurate. They're exaggerating the headline to get more clicks. I find Zero Hedge headlines obnoxious. I find it very obnoxious. But if I want to hear what my buddies at Goldman Sachs are saying, that's like the only place for me to find it. So, and they're really great in that respect. Man, I do not think I got enough sleep last night. I kind of feel like the eye twitch coming on. Like, what they do usually is combine answers, the direct one and the indirect one, to exaggerate the headline. Yep. And I'm still bitter about being blocked on Twitter. And I'm also bitter that being blocked prevents you from seeing their tweets. That really irks me. But because I don't care if I can't comment on their posts, but I feel like I should still be able to see them. You know, like what if Joe Biden decided to block me? And then, you know, that was the source of an important piece of information that got released, right? That's not fair. I wish there was a way to group a bunch of retail traders to have a communal trading terminal. Yeah, well, I don't know. So, like, with a Bloomberg terminal, for instance, there is definitely an explicit edge that you can gain from having a Bloomberg terminal. But unless you are already rich enough to afford the terminal, it's, you know, every month, you're very unlikely to be trading large enough size to really take advantage of that edge. Now, what we could do is we could have like a Substack, and you guys all pay like $10 to $20 a month to subscribe to the Substack, and then I use the proceeds from the Substack to buy a bunch of different subscriptions and a Bloomberg terminal, and then relate that information back to you on the Substack. But I don't know if I would necessarily do a Bloomberg terminal, just because I'm, you know, Bloomberg terminal is more of a live edge, and I would be like writing posts like at the end of the day or something like that, right? So one of those things, because I think to have the best impact, or to give you guys the best information, it would be a newsletter that I would post at the beginning of the trading day. But I can't wake up early enough to do that, so that one. But I could give you an end of day synopsis that would still be beneficial. But for now, my focus is more doing some back testing and infrastructure work and so forth to start like a hedge fund or a CTA firm. Here comes the size at 20. Yeah, they did make a new low at 21, didn't they? Even though it's only 29 contracts so far. 10 of 10 would not read. I think that the kind of end of day synopsis that I could give you could be worth $5 to $10 a month, sure. But I think that I would maybe get like, I don't know if I would really get enough subscribers early. So like we have the subscription for Bitcoin stuff. I think, is it time for me to post another one? No, I think I posted it last week. It's kind of funny how it worked, because in 2017 I had like 100 subscribers or something like that. And there was like, because then that was because we started the stream and like a lot of people watched the Bitcoin futures go live on my channel. And I was correct on what I told them that night. So a lot of people were impressed. But a lot of people, they only did it like the first month. So like the first month, like half of it dropped off. But then after that 100 or so people, they stayed on the whole time up until COVID. And that was the funny one, was that in March of 2020, like everybody went to their where do we do it? Patreon. Everybody went to their Patreons and canceled all of their Patreon subscriptions. So, isn't that wild? So most of the audience left at that point, and there's only been a handful of people that, and they'll remind me because I don't post every day now, but they'll remind me to post on it. But I'm just not very interested in the Bitcoin thing. Not that I don't believe in the indicator or anything, although like how to use it, I think, has kind of morphed over time, because clearly the Bitcoin market just continues to be in like what appears to be an overbought state for me, right? So it kind of tells us a little bit about how overbought they are, but it still seems like, you know, flows like ETFs are going to bring more people in, that sort of thing. That's what drives them. So, and then I just don't like the cryptocurrency market in general. So, you know, I don't care. But I'll keep posting for the people that are subscribing. I do think I have the link in the video description still, right? So I could do another one of those and like switch it over to Substack and have like an end of day synopsis. But I don't think that me doing that would be any more popular than what the original Bitcoin one was, right? And so it's not really like a game-changing amount of income for me to justify spending a whole lot of time on it, at least right now, when I have other bigger goals, right? Because what I really want to do is I want to start a hedge fund that you guys can invest in. Today, see, I have nothing against guys like Ken Griffin. In fact, he kind of sounds like we see eye to eye on a great many things, Mr. Ken and I. But I'm jealous. I'm jealous because he has all these resources to do these crazy high-frequency trading strategies and all of this sort of stuff, and have a whole firm to try out trading strategies, and I can't even invest in it. Actually, well, I can, but I can't. Because you have to be an accredited investor, and then you have to meet like their minimum contribution amounts, which are pretty high. And not everybody can get in, right? But what if there was a firm that was targeted towards all people? Well, you have to be an accredited investor, but there's going to be a test for that. There's going to be a test. So you take the test, you become an accredited investor, and then we have a fund that is designed specifically for people that have become accredited investors by passing the test. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to do. I think that would be like a huge deal, right? Making hedge funds available to everyone, that'd be a game changer. So I really feel like I should, you know, any of that extra time that I do have, I should focus it on that. Is it practical / possible to learn to program HFT strategies? So you can definitely learn about them. There is all sorts of academic material and books even about common high frequency trading strategies. But anything that those books are going to give you are going to be things that you're not going to be competitive on. You're not going to be fast enough. Right, there's already going to be other firms that have really like capitalized on that opportunity. But you would still learn, and then I suppose you could go and work for a high frequency trading firm like that. So if we do the hedge fund thing, I don't think that it will be an HFT firm, though, at least not at first. I think that the first fund that we would start would be a momentum strategy, probably. Do a momentum strategy, and then if that works out, we can branch out into other types of funds, right? Like have one that is high frequency trading, for instance. Tell you what, they did touch those lows. I think that we could see 20 at some point today, but it is awfully slow this morning. All of us here in the stream. I think that it would be like $1,000 minimum investment, but could be a huge deal. Could be a huge deal. Dude, what's with the Andrew Tate tweeting a bunch all of a sudden this weekend? I thought he was disappeared from Twitter. I don't know. The things that Andrew Tate has been saying lately kind of, I look at this and I'm like, why was he so popular again? I don't remember. Now, Twitter is quiet every day now, but it's a slow market day for today for sure. Even the ES, like, look, we've barely moved a point or two. Who would trade? Well, we wouldn't really trade, quote unquote. We would have a systematic strategy that we would follow, right? But I would execute it, yeah. You know, we'd have this thing and it's like, okay, here we got a signal to go in on this instrument, and then I do all of the math to see how many contracts we would buy, and then I would go and execute them. And we'd be pretty small, so the number of contracts, we wouldn't have to buy very many contracts. Is there anything smaller than a micro? Yes, there are nano contracts, I think. So you want me to transition from a trader to an investor? I think I'd rather transition to the attack helicopter. Well, listen, you should all be investors, right? If you're putting all of your eggs in the trading basket, then I think you're doing something wrong. Make sure that you're investing for your retirement and all of that sort of stuff first. I just think it's unfair that, you know, the ultra wealthy can take advantage of all of these trading strategies and basically completely cut out everybody else from benefiting from any of that stuff at all. And this test that allows people to become accredited investors could change that. Could be a real game changer. Wow, Usher gets marriage license in Las Vegas, so Usher was going to go get married afterwards? Great advice on investing. A lot of people try to get rich down. Listen, if you're not, you know, like maxing out your employer's 401k and, you know, contributing a little bit to your IRA, I really don't think that you should be day trading. Might be a different story for a lot of you guys that are outside of the US, because then the rules are different. But make sure that you have your retirement fixed first. Kelsey said Viva Las Vegas after their win. Well, see, so going back to our globalist plot to control the world earlier, you know, a lot of people said that, you know, after their win, that he would ask her to marry him. And then it was like, okay, well, the game is over. So, like, do we just continue watching the broadcast and then he'll pop the question? No. You do that sort of a thing at the homecoming parade, right? Like, will it be today? I think that it would be today. Think that it will be today that they will have a parade in Kansas City with the team, and there'll be confetti everywhere and everything. And then and they get to have, their chances to give speeches or whatever, and that's when you ask her to marry you. That's my thinking about it, at least. So maybe he knew about Usher's thing. I don't know. I just think that the audio guy screwed up. That's all I know about Usher. Ask her to marry him in Kansas of all places. I know, right? It's funny because some of my friends were saying, but isn't Taylor Swift kind of appeal more to conservative women than liberal women? And I'm like, well, you would think that because she did kind of start as a country star, didn't she? But it's not the way it is anymore, it doesn't seem. I'm telling you, if it's a psyop, the objective is to convince everybody to get married and have kids. Still in shock about your claim of UB being as volatile as ES? Well, I didn't explicitly claim that it was as volatile as ES. I think that what I said was that with as tight as ES is being lately, there might be some situations where UB has a range of as many ticks as ES. They might have similar volatility at times. Oh, obviously, overall, though, ES is a more volatile instrument. ES definitely moves a lot more, right? Well, of course, but you all know that in general that ES is more volatile. I thought you were making an observation about the extremely low volatility environment where you get super low volatility in the indexes, but because of the regional banking crisis, you were actually getting pretty high volatility in the treasuries. What's this from Zero Hedge? Is the U.S. credit cycle about to get a new lease on life? Let's read that. Authored by Simon White, Bloomberg macro strategist. We had like a 3-point range in the ES. Yeah, dude, like look, in almost, well, it's 25 minutes. 1, 2, 3, maybe 4-point range. It's like the old days. The old days, it was a 4-point range, huh? Okay, a drop in bankruptcy filings suggests that credit conditions are improving despite a downturn that was looking almost inevitable last year. As growth remains in a cyclical upswing, the path of least resistance for credit spreads is likely to be further tightening. After the excitement of CPI revisions, Friday's data out of China, in my view, was more consequential for U.S. inflation. I thought I would take another look at bankruptcy filings in the U.S. They were diverging higher from credit spreads, suggesting true underlying credit conditions were deteriorating despite what spreads were saying. But bankruptcy filings are now falling sharply in concert with the tightening in credit spreads. The delay in the U.S. recession and reaccelerating growth means that perhaps the U.S. has also delayed a credit downturn that looked on the cards last year. Credit flow seems to think so, rising to their highest since September 2020 on a 4-week moving average basis, according to Bank of America. Nevertheless, Leading data shows the U.S. growth revival could run out of steam as early as the summer, which would leave spreads open to a sharp repricing as flows reverse. That's the end of that story. I think this could turn around all the way to new daily highs. What, in the Treasury? Well, that would be something. I think we could turn around, but I don't know if they'd be able to get it above the open, for instance. So I would think that they would come short of the highs. Well, let's see. I think our overall take has been correct, which has been, it's a sell, but it will be slow. Well, I think it has been a sell, but like you made like two ticks off of it? Okay. Not really worth it, is it? I missed Manit's comment that I'm just maximizing shareholder value. Oh, man. Biden sets internet alight with dark Brandon Super Bowl oh, what's the dark Brandon Super Bowl reaction? Oh, Biden posted on X just like we drew it up. Yeah. Supporters of Donald Trump. What? Oh. Let's go to patriots.win and see what they're saying about the Super Bowl. Well, their top story is also that almost 90% of people believe Biden is too old to serve. Oh, there's one about just like we drew it up. Oh, no. They took just like we drew it up and shows a picture of illegal immigration. That's a good one. Okay. Here's one. Totally not a psyop. Oh my gosh, this is hilarious. Okay. They got a picture with Biden with the sunglasses and all of this, and it says Dark Brandon. And then it shows that actually he was like falling asleep there. Oh man. Oh man. You guys. I congratulated President Sisi on Mexico's World Cup win. Oh, man. I'm going to make the title of today's videos Globalists Plot Next Steps After Super Bowl Win. Will YouTube not like that? Let's see. I'm willing to take the heat from YouTube for the lulz. It's funny now, but it will be weird. And if you no, it'll still be funny, I think. It won't be funny when my Carter stock goes. I don't own any of it yet, but I'm thinking about buying some. I think we've got time because it'll take a little while before people realize that having a baby is the ultimate goal, right? It'll take a while for them to realize that the culmination of all of our globalist plots is actually in having a baby and convincing all of the millennial women to start having babies. But when it happens, then you'll all be like, oh, I should have bought the Carter stock. I wish I had a cooler stock than Carter's to give you as to like bet on a future baby boom, but like that's all I've got. I don't even know if it's really that good of a stock either, so. Just joking. I'm not saying go out and buy Carter stock. Okay, but if Taylor Swift gets married and has a baby, I think that there could be a baby boom from it. I am serious about that one. I'm not saying that I think that she will have a baby, but I'm saying that when she does have just kidding. Yeah, what did they say here about this Dark Brandon thing? Sports are fake and gay is the top comment. Gosh. Kelsey will now propose to her soon and they will both endorse Joe Biden. Called it. Heard from a reliable source that she wouldn't dare betray Trump after he helped her with the Music Modernization Act. Yeah. Is Pampers a stock? Is Gerber a stock? I think that's like P&G, isn't it? Aren't those one of those is Procter and Gamble? So maybe you could buy Procter and Gamble. You know, if we're going to go into a defensive posture here because tech stocks are going to decline 20%, then maybe Procter and Gamble done in a bad idea, you know? What exactly did the Music Modernization Act do that would be so great for Taylor? The Music Modernization Act updates the copyright law to make statutory licensing more fair for creators and more efficient for digital music producers. Consumer staples are always a great, yeah. So I think it's not a bad idea because we keep consumer staples, but I don't think that Carter's is consumer staples. You know, that's the thing. It's like with the consumer staples, like your upside is kind of capped a little bit, but consumer discretionary, that's different, right? And that's Carter's. I figure there's got to be a better play than that, but it's not coming to me. There's got to be like we need like what I'm looking for is like the Peloton of babies. You know what I mean? Like some company that makes this super innovative baby rocker that's like crazy overpriced and everybody wants it. That sort of a thing. You know? What's the trash baby stock? It's a tick up there in the treasury. Who cares? We have Kid Rock and Ted Nugent on our side. Both are way more popular than Taylor Swift. The psyops is the no, dude. Taylor Swift is reaching like Michael Jackson, Beatles level of fame. It's really quite bonkers. And if she were to do for babies what she's done for the U.S. economy, Just saying. Just saying. Really? This person says, I don't think it's scripted, but NFL teams were all posting TikToks of their players being asked what's their favorite Taylor Swift song, starting around the time that when she broke up with her boyfriend. Aaron Rodgers went all out to promote himself to date her. Kelsey, too. A bunch of NFL players did. The whole thing is weird, but when she became single, there was a rush of people who wanted to date her. Wow. Is Swiftie a new gender? Maybe. Do you think there are people out there that identify as Swifties? Yeah, probably. Do you honestly think it's scripted? Two major flaws if so. Pro athletes are terrible actors. Pro athletes are dumb. They wouldn't be able to keep the secret. Well, yes, you have. That's a very astute observation. Who posted this on Patriots.win? MAGA Daddy. Yes, that's a very astute observation, MAGA Daddy. That would kind of seem to make our globalist plot to have Taylor Swift be married to a Super Bowl winning player. The thing that you don't realize is that Taylor Swift and Kelsey themselves do not realize are not necessarily parties to the plot. See, we have manipulated them through mind control and hypnosis and so forth to do these things, but they don't actually know. That's how we're pulling it off. Taylor Swift doesn't know that she's a psyop. Not yet, at least. Or maybe Taylor knows, but Kelsey doesn't. That's also a possibility. You gotta run. Oh, we still got like a whole hour left, Gee-wee. All right. I hope everything's going well for you and your father. I'm looking at myself in the camera because I, trimmed my beard down. It was getting a little bit too much. And I'm like, I don't look too bad. I don't look too bad. There is an awful lot of gray in there, though, man. Yeah. Don't day trade, folks. This is what happens to you. The stress. And I want to run a fund, right? If I really do start a fund, I'm sure that the stress will turn the rest of my hair gray, and then I'll be the mall Santa Claus. Can you just focus and take a trade first class? No, not today. Not today. I really don't think that there's any point in taking any trades in the treasuries here today. With CPI tomorrow and a very constrained session, like seriously, since we've started trading, there was maybe an opportunity for like 2 or 3 ticks. So not worth taking the risk. Nope. Today I very explicitly let's just have some fun. What, hair? No, the hair on my chin, not on the top of my head. I wonder if my head, well, I mean, I did have it grown out pretty far before I shaved this weekend, but so I don't think I was getting gray up here, but it's really wild to me how quickly this turned gray though. But I've always been told that about every 10 years that a man's body changes. So I guess in the 40s I'd go gray. But I had some friends that went gray in their beginning of their 30s. So I'm sure that there's like key missing things in my diet and whatnot that are probably leading to that sort of stuff too. Instant replays could be real-time computer altered video. Oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that? It makes so much sense now. I told you the Chiefs would win six. People were saying the Chiefs would win like months ago, man. I remember when the NFL season started and people were saying, yeah, the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl, and then Travis Kelce is going to propose to Taylor Swift. Like it's gotten so crazy that at this point, if I was Taylor Swift, Taylor, I know you're listening. Just kidding. Can you imagine Taylor Swift watching our broadcast? That would be so hilarious. I don't think that she'd be able to tolerate it. Okay, but Taylor, just you can get married to him. Just don't tell anybody. Keep it a secret. Huh? That's what I would do. Is I would be like either A, okay, I don't want to get married because everybody's gonna say that it's gonna happen. It would either be that, or B, I would get married but just do it in secret so that nobody knows. Right? And then, like, all of a sudden I'm having a baby, and then people find out, actually, we kind of got married in secret like 3 years ago. When I was young, I had orange hair on my chin, and now I have a fully red beard. When I shave my head bald, I might actually suddenly look more gingerish. Those of us that are blonde and red hair, when you go gray, you don't go gray, you just go white. Which is kind of what I'm doing. No, it's impossible. You have to make big scenes. Same reason their love never works usually. She's got another top tier football player. Why didn't she get a guy who would love her? No, you have to go for the alpha male, right? Listen, Taylor Swift is... all of this stuff about, humans, they don't have alphas and betas and all that nonsense aside, okay? Taylor Swift is the alpha female of the United States. She has to marry the an alpha male. She has to, a super... It would either have to be a football star, some sort of a sports star, or a billionaire business tycoon. Because if Taylor Swift were to end up marrying just some average guy, like myself, that just wouldn't make any sense. Right? She needs an alpha male like Rentaro, or... None of you probably get that one. Don't worry about it. It's an awful show. Don't go watch it. Wondering, oil has kind of been up a little bit here since our trading session started. That's like just about the only interesting thing that's happening. Oh no, I take that back. Bitcoin also starting a bit of a drive as well. Not above 50K, but a drive nonetheless. Some of these people in this thread are like, oh wait, did they win? Yeah, just doubly pointing out that they didn't watch the Super Bowl. Gotcha. I was so hoping the Chiefs would lose, even though I knew it was rigged. My parents actually were rooting for the 49ers. I don't know why. I think that they still have 49ers loyalty because of Steve Young. So I was like, I went on my, I lived in Kansas. I got to be a Chiefs fan. So I finally have an excuse to be rooting for the dynasty team. I'm going to enjoy it, even though I not really like the NFL anymore. Maybe this would be a good opportunity for me to learn what the actual football positions are and like how that all works. I always thought, especially when they do like a running play and like the window just opens up and the guy runs right through it, and that's exactly where he was planning on running through. I just think that's so amazing. I really want to understand how that works, how they strategize to make a play like that work, because it's just amazing to me. You can do that when they just sneak through the lines. So cool. It's so cool. There's a lot of cool things about football. I don't know. Kind of not super big on the NFL, though. Aren't you all happy for Taylor? She totally deserves it. Yes, she does, guys. She does. She worked really hard for the Super Bowl win. Yes. No. I'm sure she enjoyed it. It looks like she was having the time of her life. Good for her. It's a psyop to paint Trump supporters as paranoid schizo. Okay. What? Let's see here. Rupert, wait, what? The WEF said that they would use aggressive propaganda to promote unity with women and restrict men's hobbies if necessary. Macron said all of this at Davos 2024. Swift Kelsey is going to be the golden couple, the poster child for gender unity. Oh, I see. So, like, basically what you're saying is that we'll have a problem if Travis Kelsey all of a sudden becomes a Warhammer 40k player. Gotcha. Is that can you name a male hobby that could be, targeted and labeled as toxic masculinity more so than Warhammer 40k? I can't think of one. Magic the Gathering, but Warhammer is way cooler than Magic, so I think we have to go after Warhammer. Yes, a vehicle, guys. No. They're prepping to try and rig the election next. No, if anything, they're sitting around, running around like chickens with their heads cut off, trying to figure out how they're going to replace Joe Biden as the nominee. That's what they're doing, if they're doing any plotting right now, I think. Who can they recruit to save us from Kamala Harris and Gavin Newsom? Like, that's a sad state of affairs when Kamala Harris and Gavin Newsom are your two top contenders for if Joe Biden is somehow unable to run. Yeah, I would be a little concerned if I was a Democrat. I'm a little concerned as a Republican, too, though. There's plenty of bad things. That just reminds me, I saw this thing where Destiny was on Coffee Hour with Graham Stephan. That's his name, Graham Stephan. And man, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's such a cock. Like, I just couldn't have, because he was like, no, like, the Trump supporters, they don't have a clue what's going on. They don't know anything about the policy or what policy is supporting or any of this sort of stuff. Like, what was it that was so great about Trump? Well, he was good for the economy. Okay, but why? And they can't name anything. Well, okay. There was countless, I think that there was something like 500 different regulatory actions that Donald Trump took when he first took office that were good for all sorts of industries. There are some lists that you can go through and read if you want to go through all of that. It's kind of funny because the things that the government can do to get out of businesses' way and help the economy are like really small things, actually. That and his tax reform, I mean, and just like using the bully pulpit to support the economy. Donald Trump was really good at that. And the beginning of Donald Trump's term was one of the most amazing stock markets I've ever seen. It really, really was truly amazing. But really, what is Donald Trump's agenda? Reverse the flood of immigration coming over the border. And he had a plan, and it basically, I don't think that he had it when he started his term, but by the time it ended, they had kind of figured it out, and it was working. And so I think that they will just re-implement those policies. Maybe, you're talking to Republicans and they don't know what they're talking about. I think that that's more reflective of destiny and the kind of audience that he tends to attract rather than of Republicans. Because, yeah, there are definitely like Trump supporters out there that have never been involved in politics that don't know what's going on, okay? But there's a whole group of other Republicans that have been in this for a long time, are super involved in policy and understand these things, okay? But the thing that I thought was so funny was him saying, well, see, us liberals, the reason why we don't do very well is because we don't do a very good job at, explaining what our policies are and blah, 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 blah. It's such a load of shit, dude. Americans understand what liberal policy is better than anything else in politics because they've been living liberal policy for the last 10, 20 years. Okay. We know how it goes and what you're doing because that's what you've been doing. The reality of it is that Americans know very well what the far left agenda is in particular, and they just don't like it. It's just that the Republicans at the current time don't really present much of an alternative because they only focus on one or two issues and they don't talk about all of the other things that people care about. But that's always what will, I don't think you'll ever see a time where when Democrats are losing, they'll be like, well, the reason we're losing is because our ideas suck. They'll never say that. It will always be, we need to be better with our messaging, right? Because everything on the Democrat side is about trying to present themselves as the popular side. That's their only tactic. It's interesting to watch that large bid creep down. It keeps creeping down. They did make the 20, didn't they? That was actually a lot faster than all of the other stuff, but it was still pretty slow. But relatively fast for today. I wasn't sure that we would get the 20 before the end of the session. It's just that when we pointed it out, we were at 22, so it was only 4 ticks. Right? Yeah, it was sitting at 20 and it kept moving down 1 tick methodically. I think that it may be moving down because of correlated assets though. So let me show you something. Excuse me. So when I come over here to the Treasury, it's kind of rising up until just before the session started. And then we've kind of been on a slow downturn, right? Okay, but especially when you go further out, it's kind of this doesn't really seem to be going anywhere, right? Okay. But then come and look at the Japanese yen, right? The Japanese yen was down big the day before, flat through here, and now down big again. So now I think that there was a holiday over there, but yeah, I think that it may be correlations that are pushing them down. That would make sense then too if the bid was pulling and dropping rather than them trading through it, right? It wasn't worth the stress. So did you kept that trade on the whole time and took your profits at 20? My man. Yeah, it probably wasn't worth the stress. Oh man. Those when it gets tight like that, those are the worst trades. I'm sure that if you're a big guy, you might enjoy trades like this, but if you're trading a limited number of contracts, something like this is really stressful, yes. Because you're waiting forever to make a quick little profit, and then if it screws up, you lose huge. You lose huge if you screwed it up. I remember very early in my career, it was days like this that I would lose the most. This was funny at first, but I'm starting to think that people are actually believing it. They definitely throw Taylor Swift on the screen a lot. And the amount that politicians are talking about her is definitely suspicious. But, you know, it was conservative people on Twitter that brought it up, really, so. If you're a conservative and you don't like that we're talking about it, you have conservatives to blame. Conservatives like me. But see, that's because I'm part of the globalist cabal. I know what's going to happen, right? It's not a conspiracy theory if you're in on the conspiracy, guys. I just really want to be part of the cool kids club at the Global Economic Forum. That's really the reality of it. If only. No, I think that when I start my hedge fund and become, you know, one of the richest people in the world from making hedge funds available to everybody, I will not be paying the $100,000 fee or whatever to join the World Economic Forum. I'll pay the fee to go and live at the private ski resort, but I'm not so that I can go to a convention. No, thank you. Like, if you're going to pay that much and you have a convention, there should at least be cosplay or something, right? It sounds like a boring convention. You know what? Even the people on the Donald Trump, reading this thread, and it's mostly people trying to argue why it's not a conspiracy. Isn't that interesting? So, like, definitely some conservatives called it out, but it doesn't seem to me like the conservative audience actually believes it. Her music is blatantly satanic. Okay. Oh, I'm not gonna read that comment. That one was bad. Oh my gosh. You think there's anything about it on the conservative subreddit? No, the top story on r/conservative right now is U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris says she is ready to serve as president following worries in recent days about President Biden's age and mental capacity. This storyline is like one of the wildest things. So I remember there's this really great documentary series about all of the different U.S. presidents, and they talk about Jimmy Carter's presidency and all of the things that really made people sour on Jimmy Carter's presidency, because those of us that was before our time, I don't think really realize all of the kind of, there was a lot of little stories along the way that kind of turned that into what it was. And it really kind of was like, oh yeah, I understand now why it went so bad. But that was nothing compared to what we're seeing with Biden right now. Like this whole storyline, like a report, you know, they go after Trump for having documents and make a big deal out of it. And then it turns out that Joe Biden was doing the same thing but worse. But then they try and prosecute Donald Trump to the fullest extent of the law and make up an excuse for why they're not going to prosecute Joe Biden. So everybody gets upset and they decide to do a special counsel report. Okay. And then they're mad when the special counsel report comes out and says, you know, well, Biden says he couldn't remember this and he couldn't remember that. And then they're like, oh, that's not true. And get super upset about that. So then he goes up and gets in front of a press conference to try and prove to everybody how competent he is. And then he makes so many little silly flubs and everything that just makes it worse. So then Kamala Harris comes out and is like, well, I'm prepared to serve if anything happens. Okay, that's like, I get why you might have thought that was a good idea. Like, oh, well, if you're concerned, you can still vote for Joe Biden because Kamala can take over. But nobody likes you, Kamala. So you just did two bad things. This one, you reinforced and gave new life to the headline that Joe Biden is incompetent. You know, that's mistake number one. That's always, if you've got a negative thing going on with you, politicians, any of you ever become politicians, that's mistake number one. Is anytime you talk about it, you address it, whatever the deal is, it just gives that news cycle another life. So you don't say anything unless that thing that you say is like truly going to end it. Okay? So you gave that news story new life, and then you scared all these people because people hate you more than they hate Joe Biden. So this is like history in the making right now, folks. And it's just, so remember earlier though, like earlier in the year, we're like, well, this is what it looks like today. But, you know, probably something comes along that just completely shifts the picture on everything. Well, it's happening is just it kind of shifted the picture even further, Donald Trump, right? Could still be some game changers. You know, maybe one of these court cases comes out and Donald Trump does get prosecuted. That could be a big problem for him. But right now, I don't think that anything could be as bad as they are for Joe Biden right now. Holy crap. Holy crap. Oh my gosh. You know, so here's a story that I saw last night that I was like, please, no. Vivek Ramaswamy spotted at Mar-a-Lago with Donald Trump as vice president rumors continue to heat up. I'm a Republican through and through. I'm not going to say that Donald Trump is like my first choice, but it's clear that that's what's going to happen. So I'm going to vote for Trump. But if Vivek Ramaswamy is the vice president, maybe I'll just stay home. Like, I don't think, I can't think of anything that makes my stomach churn more. The only thing that makes my stomach churn more thinking about, or Vivek Ramaswamy being vice president, is thinking about how Kamala Harris is vice president right now. It's pretty bad. Hopefully, though, that's not actually going to happen. I don't think that he'll do that. That would probably be a bad call from him if he did. Nothing really on the conservative subreddit about Taylor Swift other than that thing where Trump says he did more for Taylor Swift than Joe Biden did. Taylor Swift looking mortified watching an obnoxious Travis Kelce sing Viva Las Vegas during the trophy presentation? What? Hey, my wife is bringing me the baby monitor at the right time. That's cool. Oh yeah, he does look. He is singing that hard. He is really. Oh, he was singing into the microphone. She is that. She is getting the ick. You guys want to see? You guys want to see Taylor Swift get the ick? There you go, right there. Oh, wait, we gotta play that with sound. Does that have sound? Okay, yeah.
Viva Las Vegas! Viva Las Vegas! Viva! Viva Las Vegas!
My gosh.
Hey, Elvis.
Oh, that's a new. Yeah, that's. I bet you that's TikTok today. Have you seen that TikTok account where like he finds girls on TikTok that tell TikTok what their icks are, and then he adds the icks to like this big long list, and they're always like super ridiculous. I don't know what he would write that one down as, but surely he'll be all over that one. You took three trades, in my opinion, is a lot for a day like today. Like, tomorrow it's going to move like monster, right? Tomorrow it might move a whole handle. But I guess if you made money today, that's good. It's good if you did. I think we had the general direction right, and that's good. It's always good when we say, oh, it's going to go down, and it does. That's the most important thing, I think, for us is being able to correctly identify before it happens what the overall daily trend will be in the treasury. Very, very important. I got to watch that one more time. I'm going to watch that one more time. I've made a huge mistake. Oh, this is from Swiftly Neutral. It's the neutral Taylor Swift subreddit. Next album is going to be fire. I dated someone loud and obnoxious like this. Whenever a camera would point in his direction, he'd lift his shirt up and howl titties for Harambe. I'm not even making this up. Taylor's face was my face all the time. This is the new symbol of girl ick everywhere, right? Miss you, babe. Oh my gosh. This man is totally different from all her boyfriends. She looks like she wants to be back on her airplane. Oh, gee. Oh, gosh. Brutal. Ugh. Where'd this come from? In your life, you'll do things greater than dating the boy on the football team. Is that like a Taylor Swift quote or something? It was Travis's version of her messy Grammys behavior. There you go. They're soulmates. Oh, that's funny. I don't know. I kind of feel like as a man that if you don't give your girlfriend the ick at least a few times, that you're not doing it right. Gotta make sure that she really truly loves you to overcome the ick, right? really, this is common knowledge, but he literally got kicked off his football team in college and lost his scholarship and was only let back because his older brother, the quote responsible one, advocated on his behalf and begged the coach to give him another chance. Wow. This relationship is going to be messy. Doesn't matter as long as they have children to pump our stocks. Okay. I'm gonna need to take a really good nap today. For all the level boisterous jock charm his brother have, Travis just comes off as obnoxious and unlikable. Oh, I feel bad for him now. Made an obnoxious speech at last year's Super Bowl as well. Oh yeah, what was with the shoving and yelling at his coach? I didn't get that. I'm telling you, she got the ick. This isn't going to last. Guys, this is a huge issue for our globalist plot here. What are we going to do about this? Stop runs incoming? Maybe. I mean, look, they got another big order at 16.5. Right now, they're kind of at a, what is it? Session low? Overnight low? So I remember saying, well, it might be hard for them to get down there. But, 2 hours, they got there. To go to 16.5, that would probably take a little bit more time, but I think they could probably do it. I think that you've got to be seeing people hedging today for CPI tomorrow. So there is a real risk that CPI is bad and upsets this market. So I'm not saying I think I know what the CPI is going to be. I'm just saying I know which way people would be hedging, right? Like people out there that hedge, none of them are thinking, I'm concerned that the CPI will be lower than expected and cause treasuries to buy up like mad. None of them are saying that, right? But there is going to be some people saying, I'm afraid that CPI is going to be too high. So they might be wrong. We don't know. But you're probably going to see more selling hedge flows today than not. And so they sold today. Although I also still kind of think that the move down is being driven by the Japanese yen more so than the treasuries, probably. That's definitely what it looks like to me. I feel like there's a massive setting in of reality coming. They are both simultaneously at their apex at this one night. Now the fun party football games are over. The awards are over. The constant celebration of their careers is winding down for the foreseeable future. Her tour will carry on, and soon it too will end. And then what? They'll go sit around in their mansions forever as the public loses interest. He says something stupid on a podcast and draws ire and criticism. ... Yeah. But the Malthusiasts want to depopulate the world and kill all of us off? Oh man. I think you got me there, Brad. I don't know if I can explain that one away. Listen, if you want your stocks to continue to move up forever in perpetuity, then you want people to have more babies. But you're right. a lot of those World Economic Forum people kind of want people to stop having kids and for population to decline. So yeah, give me a day to think about it. Maybe I can come up with a good explanation for why that's not actually the case. Maybe that's just what we wanted you to believe because we didn't want you to, reverse psychology. We told you that we're trying to depopulate the world and thinking that you would go and start populating like rabbits in protest. But it didn't work. It didn't work. You guys still weren't having kids, so now we have to pull out the Taylor Swift strategy. Can you believe that? The public is not cooperating. Let's pull out Taylor Swift. The globalists have no greater weapon in their arsenal than Taylor Swift. The real deal here, folks. Don't underestimate her. But don't underestimate the power of the ick. The ick. Listen, forget about the globalist conspiracy here. What we want to have happen is for Taylor Swift to have a baby so that people have more babies and our stocks go up, okay? This is a real risk here. The real risk, we've got to do something about this. So when he proposes to her at the Super Bowl parade, homecoming parade, it's really got to be good. It's really got to be good so that she forgets that ick. And he can't do any ick things at that party, okay? So don't do anything stupid, Travis. Okay, no funny, no singing, no shenanigans, okay? Just be really sensitive. Again, you've got to be like Rentaro here, okay? Just think, always, what would Rentaro Aijo do? And do that, okay? Then we should be good. And if you don't get that reference, just don't look it up, okay? Don't look it up. So here's somebody on Reddit that's serious though. I said it before, and I know other people mentioned it. She needed a PR bounce back, and he fit the bill. Maybe. I was thinking about that too and having the same thoughts. So far, it seems like the time they've spent together, they both had all their friends around, aside from probably being in bed together alone at the end of these nights of partying and passing out. I imagine Travis will probably go to some of her concerts, likely with some of his friends and her friends, and there could be some of the same partying go on, and then he'll have training. Then the season will start again in the fall. I guess it's possible. I do kind of question the seriousness of the cheating rumors I've heard in the past regarding Travis, and if he'll be able to remain loyal if the rumors are true. Of course, I have no idea if they are or are not. Can you imagine having Taylor Swift as your girlfriend and cheating on her? How dumb could you be to cheat on Taylor Swift? I mean, how dumb can you be to cheat in general, but to cheat on Taylor Swift? Holy crap. I don't think he's that dumb, is he? I don't know anything about him. While I do think Taylor was definitely grossed out, I have also seen another side of her recently, and I honestly think they're perfect for each other. I do think she's very intelligent with words. Of course, she's an amazing songwriter, but I do think that their maturity levels match. So let's say they make it to football season, and through next football season, then Taylor won't have another year of touring to do, at least not the Eras Tour. I guess who knows what she'll have planned, but yeah, I should be interesting to know how this plays out. Oh, okay, so I see. He's not going to ask her to marry him tomorrow. It's not going to happen. Because she's got a whole nother year of touring. So what's actually going to happen is he's going to be the first team to win the Super Bowl 3 years back to back to back to back. Then at that point, she will be done with her tour, and then they can get married and have a baby, etc., etc., etc. I'd be careful. You can't push it too long, Taylor. You are kind of getting to that age where, I don't know, maybe you have some eggs frozen or something, but just be careful, okay? This is important stuff here. This is the future of humanity we're talking about. We're counting on you. Still got about 5 minutes left. I don't know. You know, who was it that was saying, I think that we could see stop runs, Guy Man? I think we may be seeing that, actually. I mean, it's not going to be too spectacular because today is such a range-bound day, but I think that we might be seeing some stop runs right now. Dude, none of the people in this thread think that the relationship is gonna last. That's so sad to me. I now I'm kind of rooting for them to make it. Partly because I think that it will be good for stocks. but also just because Reddit doesn't think it's going to happen. So whatever Reddit thinks, I think I have to take the opposite position. Most definitely. Most definitely. To be honest, I don't think he cares about her Grammy's behavior, but she definitely cares about this. Maybe she thought it was cute after the Baltimore game, but now I think she's seeing this as just his vibe. Oh, man. I don't know. The internet is probably making too big of a deal of this, you know, swiftly neutral. They care too much. Yeah, they definitely care too much. I care too much. And I only care too much as a joke. These people are all serious. That was at 18 right there? Yeah. We keep going. Like, got five minutes left. How much more can we get out of that? Because, I mean, at 22 and you got 4 ticks, meh. But if you held on and you got like 8, that's a trade. That's a trade. That would be a hard trade to keep trying to let it run, but it's a trade. Between this and him literally attacking his own coach, I got the ick for her. Her face is telling a story we're all too familiar with. The face of, oh my goodness, what am I doing? Did I produce 4 families worth of carbon in a year for this? Oh, oh man. Oh, jeez. Man, when they hit her for having a high carbon footprint, they're so brutal. Man. What I really want to know what it was with Travis Kelce pushing coach. Travis Kelce pushes coach. "13 hours ago, the New York Post." Oh, he commented on it. Okay, let's see what he says. Both Andy and Travis spoke about the shove following the game, with Andy explaining, "The part I love is he loves to play the game and he wants to help his team win. It's not a selfish thing. That's not what it is, and I understand that. And so as much as, you know, he bumps into me, I get after him, and we understand that. He just caught me off balance. That's all." Oh, okay. In another interview, he joked, "He keeps me young. He tested that hip out. He caught me off balance. Normally, I'd give him a little bit, but I didn't have any feet underneath of me." Oh, okay. So they think that to them, they're just joking around. Okay, gotcha. Travis, meanwhile, was also asked about the moment and said, "Oh, you guys saw that, man. It was, I'm going to keep that between us unless my mic'd up tells the world, but I was just telling him how much I love him." Oh, wait, what? Travis went on to call Andy the greatest coach this game has ever seen. "He's one of my best leaders of men I've ever seen in my life." Okay, maybe that's okay. Maybe we're okay on that. We don't have to worry. We just have to worry about Swift getting the ick. You know what? I'm gonna go out on a limb here. I don't know if this whole, you know, Taylor Swift baby thing is really hitting. So I'm gonna try posting on Wall Street Bets about it. I'm sure that they will absolutely hate it, but it's actually, thinking about that makes me afraid to do it now. But I think I will. I think I'll still do it. Okay, guys, I think it's time for me to get going. I will see you tomorrow. Don't miss it. CPI. Tomorrow might be the most important trading day of the month. We'll see. Sometimes a big number like that is a nothing burger, but it has the potential to be massive. So, see you guys then. In the meantime, stay excellent, team.